Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, boys and girls, it takes a village to make the movies and the shows that we love, and guess what? It takes a village to make this show, too, although it's a village of one. But if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more, enlightened in a conversational fashion. And you know, if you like what you're hearing, then, you must because you're listening. If you are, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. It matters. It really does. We're available pretty much everywhere. Places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google. And plus, we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we would absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on the social media. I believe that's what the kids call it these days. We're on the Facebook. We're on the Twitter. We're on the X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on the Letterboxd. We're on the Instagram. We're on the TikTok. And, we're probably on a few other places, too. Where else would we be? At In the Seats for all sorts of fun updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats. InTheSeats.ca for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large. Because guess what? We love to watch it and write about it and talk about it. We love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So do us that kindness and pay us a visit. On this episode, we got a fun one. We are diving back into the world of Schmigadoon, which is, of course, available on Apple TV+. It's a fun show. I love it to death. You should too. If you haven't already signed up for Apple TV+. What are you waiting for? Go do it now. But we are talking Schmigadoon because it is Emmy season. Even though they've been delayed, the voting is still going on and people are talking. It's an important thing. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down with one of the major production designers on the show, the one and only Jamie Walker McCall, to ask about her work and just how this all gets done and how they're building these universes for us one step at a time, and just the fantastic job that she did and they all do. I mean, hey, she's been nominated for an Emmy. She did a very good job. But like I said, watch Schmigadoon. It'll put a smile on your heart. But first, enjoy our talk with Jamie Walker McCall to look into the world of production design on a show like Schmigadoon. Because, quite frankly, it's a really good conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Well, Jamie, obviously, first off, just thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate this.
Of course. Thank you for making time for me.
Now, I guess my question is because, I mean, obviously, when you're in the art department, when you're in production design, like you're crafting visuals and when you're trying to make everything sort of immersive and trying to make sort of this world, I guess, apply your own flair to it, as it were, because I mean, that's why you were hired. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, with something like Schmigadoon, like you're coming on the second season, like sort of the foundation is already there. How do you, as the artist, sort of expand out on top of that?
Well, one of the things, even during the interview, they had told me they were going in a different direction this season. So that was exciting for me, because it's always difficult to take over for somebody who's already done an amazing job. So it was a little refreshing to know that I was going to take over a completely different Schmigadoon world.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can imagine that certainly helps because, I mean, at the same time, it's distinct and it's different, but you still manage to keep a little bit of the flair from the first one as well. Like, you never want to throw that entirely away, do you?
No, absolutely not. And there was, we wanted to keep the lightheartedness and the vibrant colors. I just, instead of the pastel-y kind of world, I went with the dark, more seedy, which lent itself more to the storyline. But I think with the saturated colors and everything that we use, still kind of, melded well with the first season.
No, I mean, I'm curious, when you're going into a job like with something like this, are you basically the kid in the candy store getting to play? Because, I mean, again, you're not dressing an office or designing a pub scene or something like that. You're really sort of getting to go wild and crazy with it all.
This was an absolute dream job of mine. Designing for this was so exciting. And, reading the scripts at first and talking to Cinco and his, vision for the season, it was truly a dream job. And I was a kid in a candy store. Definitely.
No, I mean, I'm curious on something like this when you're crafting these worlds. I mean, obviously you're working with the director and matching up to his vision, but I mean, how much do you have to work with the actors as well to sort of create something that I guess is attuned to their character? Because I mean, I can imagine, especially on something like this, which is definitely as off the wall as it is, you're definitely having to deal with a diverse range of, I don't want to say personalities, but I mean personalities in the script that you want to sort of to display visually on the screen.
Well, it's interesting because I'm not really sure, when I'm designing first, I'm one of the first ones on in Angus as well as costumes.
Right.
And before we even really know who's cast as what character, we're just designing for the
Okay.
character.
Okay.
So a lot of it is a collaborative effort between myself and the costume designer, and this was Angus. So we had early meetings with Cinco, and I would show my presentations, Angus would show his presentations, and then we were just kind of on the same page. And then luckily, once the characters were, everybody fit into who was going, we had honestly no idea who was going to be who until leading up to it. It just kind of worked. The characters on the set, they walked onto the sets and even, developed their character even more.
No, I mean, obviously, just by the nature of your job, you're designing ahead, you're working ahead. But I mean, I'm curious, like, do you have to be sort of on set in the moment as they're shooting, or is it just a question of when the sets, like when they walk on the set, is your job done?
Essentially, my job is done unless there's certain things that I like. I usually open a set every day to let everyone know exactly what I plan for this scene specifically, if there's like rotating benches or, what's going to wild, what can help the shooting crew. And so I just like to walk everybody through what's there for them, and even the choreographers and stuff like that, what I've put into the sets for their use. That becomes a little bit before with the choreographers, but it's mostly on the day. And then I walk away so that I watch a little bit of filming. I usually wait till the first take and then I walk away just so it's out of my hands at this point.
No, I mean, I know sort of originally a lot of your background is as a graphic artist and a designer. Like, I'm kind of curious, how did that training sort of inform you going into an art department on a TV shoot? Because I mean, when I think of the term production designer, while I know what it entails, which is basically sort of everything that is not the actors on screen, it does feel like a very kind of broad description of what the job is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think my graphic design background really helps me, especially when I'm doing my mood boards and pitching my first initial, vision for a show. Really, the aesthetic that I've gained in my own design, it really helps sell. And maybe that's why I got the job. I don't know. Maybe I put together a really good graphic design board for it. But it really helps me. And I am so used to telling a story visually through graphics or being asked to do, some sort of visual to express something, that jumping into the art director and then production design is just another part of that. So I've been telling stories through graphics for a very long time. And a lot of the facades actually in Chicago, I actually designed via Photoshop, and it came all together that way. So I really lean on my graphic design background for what I do production design wise.
No, I mean, I'm curious, like, is the job easier or harder when it's something like Schmigadoon, when you're basically world building, or does it change, or is it vary between something like, say, American Crime Story or Candy when you're dealing with something that's a bit more contemporary?
There's challenges both ways, because you want to put your own little flair on a period piece like Candy, or something contemporary like American Horror Story. So you want to put your own, little flair to it, but while keeping it realistic. Whereas Schmigadoon or in Chicago, you could do whatever you want. So there's freedoms, and you don't want to go too crazy because you still want to make it, you don't want to go so far out that it's not realistic. They are similar. But I do enjoy working on shows where you can be a bit more creative in it and not just selling, what we all remember 1980s to be.
Right. No, I love that just words like Schmigadoon and Chicago are sort of in the lexicon. How long did it take for you to get the schma down?
Pretty quickly. Texting to my phone learned it really fast. To just autofill Schmigadoon, Chicago really quickly.
No, I mean, I'm curious. I mean, this feels like a loaded question, but it's one I always like to ask. Like, was there like a moment in your life or even a movie or a TV show that had a light bulb go off for you that made you go, that's cool, I want to do that?
Oh, hands down, for sure. I was in my senior year at Pratt, and I went for advertising art direction, minored in graphic design, and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do when I graduated. And I saw Lord of the Rings
Oh, nice.
that Christmas, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to move to LA and I want a graphic design. And that's what I did.
How collaborative is your job, especially on sort of, because I mean, I can imagine on one end, obviously you're dealing with directors and actors on one end, but at the other end, you're having to lead a team of other artisans when it comes to more specific stuff. Like, are you almost sort of an intermediary between the director and the cast versus sort of the specific set dresser or designer, that kind of thing?
I feel like the art department is a mediator between all.
Right. Okay. All right.
I really do. I think we have to know all. I have to work, we have to work with everybody. We have to work with special effects, visual effects. We have to work with stunts. We have to work, rigging grips, electric. Set dressing, set design. Like, that's one of the parts of my job that I really love, is that I feel like I have a hand in every single aspect of the production.
Is that
Even down to helping, collaborating with the ADs for the schedule. That's a huge part of my job as well. So I really love what I do.
Well, and I mean, it kind of goes to an old saying I've always heard from various people off sets, like the art department always needs help. Doesn't matter what it is, the art department always needs help.
Yes, always. We're always slammed and working weekends and, making it happen.
Now, I mean, I'm kind of curious on your end. How do you think sort of the art of set building and sort of production design evolves? Because I mean, again, we live in such a world where, I mean, as a fan, as an old school fan, I appreciate the work of sets and sort of vibrant, sort of immersive things that I know are real versus maybe sort of having three dots on someone's head or a green screen behind you with a ping pong ball, a tennis ball on a stick kind of thing. How do you think your art form is going to be evolving in sort of the months and the years to come?
Well, I think the production design art form is going to evolve in a sense where we probably are going to go a little bit more digital than we'd all like to. I think one of the things that might keep the old school, which I'm all for, I love, textual elements to it, and just being on a set and the feeling of being on a set versus behind a green screen, it comes, with the actors. I think it's really difficult, and I don't think every actor is successful at being on a green screen and knowing that, left to right or whatever, everything is opposite. So I really hope that we kind of stay true to our crafts and keep it building and keeping everyone working and, doing it a little bit more old school, because that's what Hollywood's all about, right? That's what our base, bringing all the crafts together and building something amazing.
Like Chicago, absolutely.
Like Chicago. Exactly.
But I mean, Jamie, obviously, just thank you so much for the time today. I mean, and congrats on the work on the show. It's definitely one of my favorites. And I mean, I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.